I'm doing you guys a disservice by only showing you the tiny boats that I build and fish off of when there are so many more talented boat builders out there, people who have way cooler setups than either my Sun Dolphin American 12 or the Pond Prowler 10. So from now on, every single week, I am going to showcase the epic tiny boat builds of the week. Now, where do I source these boats? From our own private group called Tiny Boat Talk on Facebook. We just passed 4,000 members. I just created it. You guys are absolutely going nuts in that group. 400 plus posts a week, all about tiny boats, and I have seen some jaw-dropping builds. So today I've got a short list of a few builds that I personally really like I want to feature in this week's segment. If you would like to share your tiny boat, I would greatly appreciate it. Join Tiny Boat Talk. It is a private Facebook group, and I would love if you shared your build, as many photos, videos, and information as possible to inspire other people, because I've been hoarding this for myself. I scroll through there, I get all my inspiration for tiny boat builds. In fact, I found a boat I liked so much. My John boat was inspired off of it. So hey, I'm doing you guys a disservice by not sharing it with you. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into my computer here. And let's talk about the first boat build that I'm a big fan of. Now, member Junie Toe has I believe this is a Bass Raider. Now, the main feature that he is showing on this build is, of course, his rod holder setup. This is a kayak rod holder setup, which is super, super cool. Now, if there are any products that I really do think are super cool, I will find them and I will link them down below for you, mostly because I'm going to go find the link anyway and probably pick stuff up myself and make videos about it in the future. But I will link this. I will find it. I will link it down below for you. But let's check out his boat first and foremost. I love that rod holder setup so much better than the factory rod holders that came on my pontoon. I have the Pond Prowler. I'm not so sure what the rod holder situation in this boat is. It doesn't look like a whole lot, but even in my John boat, I don't like my rods sticking straight up. I like my rods laying flat along the gunnel of the boat, and this is the best option. But they're small boats, and you fish from the side and from the stern a lot, so you need to be able to put your feet underneath it. My only worry is that if I fell or I'm catching a big fish or something, my foot goes on there and snaps all the rods. That would suck. But I absolutely love this build. They've got the interlocking foam right down there. They've got a storage crate and a raised seat. Now, this is, I believe, those fancy Millennium seats. It is. These things are expensive. They're like 120 bucks. And he's got it on the standard seat base that came with his Bass Raider, but he also has it on a 6-inch riser, which is awesome. And this is a fellow trolling motor propelled guy. He only is using a Minn Kota tiller handle. I'm not sure of the thrust. It looks like it might be a 30-pound, but he's got it mounted on the transom just like I do. And as you can see right in there, you have a fish finder. I can't tell exactly what size that is. That might be the 7-inch, that might be the 10-inch, I'm not sure. But overall, I absolutely love this build. The seat looks really good with this color of the Bass Raider, and that rod holder, that's a mod that I have not seen anybody do. I didn't even know that rod holder existed, and that is the point of this series, to inspire you guys. It sure inspired me. Honestly, this looks like a super, super fun, really durable, stable, one-man fishing boat where you can easily and comfortably carry, it looks like 4+ rods in that setup. That's pretty freaking sweet, folks. Now, today's video sponsor, Time USB, wants to let you know that they make the best 50 amp hour ultra light waterproof marine batteries for your trolling motors. Now, they have sponsored the channel before, but I am a huge fan of the Time USB 50 amp hour. Now, if I'm simply trolling motor propelled like I usually am, I will advocate for 100 amp hour. Everybody needs 100 amp hour. But if you have an outboard and your trolling motor is secondary, if your trolling motor is to be used as a trolling motor, not your main method of propulsion, save yourself the time and headache. Get a 50 amp hour. They only weigh about 11 pounds. They cost less. They take up half as much room, and they are so much easier to deal with. If I had a gas outboard, I'd be running 50 amp hour for my bow mounted trolling motor full time. You can check them out in the link in the description. They are coming out with a 100 amp hour. They do have a 100 amp hour, but these batteries are specifically made for trolling motors. Thank you, Time USB, for sponsoring another video, and let's move on. All right, Dillis Baker has a tiny, not so tiny boat, but this is a 1648 aluminum John boat. And now what's cool about this build is even if you have a 14 foot, a 12 foot, heck, even a 10 foot. You can scale all of this down. But the 16 foot, I mean, come on, that's a pretty decent sized boat. Borderline not that tiny anymore. This is probably the cutoff, but you can put a 25 Suzuki 4-stroke on it. Anyway, I think this is super cool. The paint job is absolutely phenomenal on it. Of course, they've got it on a trailer. This boat's too big to try to car top or put it in the bed of your truck, but they've got the bow mounted light bar right there. So it's a little hard to see, but there are 3 total seats in this boat, and he has decking built in with plenty of hatches, which you'll get a better shot of it here in a second. But there's a full deck on the front of it, and in a 16-foot aluminum John boat, that's pretty daggone big. And he's got the pedestal seat up there with the foot-controlled trolling motor, which is super cool. This is basically a miniature bass boat. Of course, you have 2 stern-mounted swivel seats right there. Even got the bimini top. You know, we love bimini tops in Tiny Boat Talk. Everybody's got a bimini top these days. I have a bimini top on my 12 foot. I have a bimini top on my 10 foot, and I love them both. Although fall's approaching and they're about to get removed. All right, so this is pretty interesting here. You have a bar that holds all of your rods. So this could be used for trolling, simple rod management, but honestly, I mean, the fact that you can easily carry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rods and not even have to use any of the rod holders up here is pretty stinking cool. And I love how they're up and out of the way. It's super cool. But you've got a tiller handle 25 horsepower Suzuki 4-stroke. This thing will absolutely cook. What a cool boat. This is a better shot of all of the different hatches and the decking. Excuse me. Honestly, this is a really, really clean build. One of my favorite aluminum boats that I have ever seen. Yeah, overall, huge fan. I would absolutely love this boat. Next up, we have a boat owned by Vorhees Robert. Now, we're getting back to reality here with a 10-foot Quest Angler. I have the Pond Prowler, although I have an older Pond Prowler. It's a Pond Prowler 10 foot, but it's the 2 model. So it actually looks identical to this boat. It's a little bit different, but it's got that clean gray look on it. So what I'm going to assume is maybe this is the new boat or this is the new boat, because I'll tell you right now, that's a Pond Prowler. So I don't know if he's got multiple of these things, but we're going to talk about this build in particular because I am a huge fan of it. So this is a totally kind of reinvented Pond Prowler. It's a Quest Angler. I call them all Pond Prowlers. And the reason I say that is because as you can see, those seat bases that come with the boat, those, $100 friggin' seat bases that people break and lose and they're hard to get a hold of. Well, he completely got rid of that. It looks like he did a plywood fitting on the bottom with marine carpet and he straight bolted giant seat risers into it. So I'd imagine it's a lot more stable feeling, and it looks like they're gonna be sitting around the same height. I like the idea of the floor being firm and marine carpet as it's probably plywood, but I'm not sure what the entire point of it is if it's going to be in the same area. I will say it'll be nice that you can store things in and around it, coolers, because the seat rails, the original bases, they are kind of cumbersome and pretty annoying in my opinion. I think this is a pretty cool setup. I mean, if you have 2 seats anyway, you're not going to be sliding them around a whole lot. I mean, let's be honest. If there's 2 seats on the Pond Prowler, you don't really need to slide them up or back all that much, especially if you're fishing with 2 people. But he's got the same setup I do, the emergency paddle mounted on the outside right here. And it looks like he's also trolling motor only powered. And this is really just a simple, clean, comfortable, functional setup. And at the end of the day, those are some of my favorites, is the cleanest, most simple and functional. And you don't have to remove the seats when you're trailering it down the highway, which is really nice because I always removed my seats. But then it also looks like he got a Pond Prowler. I don't know if he has 2 boats or if this is his new one, but he's got a co-captain up here and looks like a similar build. Outside here, marine carpet right there, except he's still got the seat base there. You've got another light. That's pretty cool. This looks like an awesome trailer. These trailers are absolutely perfect. They're just kind of like flatbed utility trailers. I think they are absolutely perfect for these tiny boats. You don't even need a formal boat trailer. But this is probably his new boat because the new Pond Prowler 10s, they come with the drain plug on the floor instead of up here, which mine is and most of yours are. Our drain plug's up where my mouse is right now, and it sucks because it leaves like 1.5 inches of water when you're trying to drain it. But on the bottom, this shows that it's the new model. But I like how he's got everything wired. He's got breakers and kill switches, and he's got a battery box, and I assume that powers his trolling motor as well as his bow-mounted light up there. But again, I don't know if he has both these boats at the same time, if he upgraded, one's old, one's new. I like them both. They're both pretty cool. But the reason I included it was this unique flooring system with permanently fixed boat seats. I think that's a really good and probably better option. Okay, so Kobe posted this really cool, very simple 12-foot John boat. Now, this is the same John boat I have, except this is under the Pond Prowler brand. But he actually, I just found another post that he made, and it looks like that he's got some sort of table that he can slide it right out on. Look at that. It's perfectly matched to the size of his bed. The table is on wheels. This is a really good idea, actually. If I didn't have a trailer and I was simply putting it in the bed of my truck, this looks like about the easiest way that I could think of getting it from your garage to the bed of your truck. So that's really smart. I just wanted to share that idea. Someone might be able to use that here. In fact, here's the boat that my John boat got inspired by. As you can see, I'm about to post a tour of my boat if it's not up already, and it's very similar. But check this out. So this is the Pond Prowler 12. Now this is an interesting build. The decking is great. It looks like a super flush fit. You've got a hatch right there for storage, which I greatly appreciate. And I actually wanted this boat. I wanted the Pond Prowler 12. And Tractor Supply actually came out with a new version, and it's similar to this, but it's got that kind of white and grayish dark look. Anyway, I think this is a super functional build. Now, the front seat right here looks a little bit uncomfortable. The front passenger would probably appreciate being able to look where they're going, but if I'm being completely honest, I was on the boat today. If someone is turned around and facing front, a full-size adult, the bow is going to ride so much lower in the water. You're going to get more wave slap, and it's going to be a more sluggish ride. So hey, maybe forcing them to turn around and stare you down the barrel is the best option. But I just really like how simple it is. The clean decking matches the hull so well. The seats are just a perfect touch. And I just think that marine carpet looks great. But look at that beautiful little Suzuki right there. Now, I believe he actually posted, he's got a 6 horsepower. Now, these things are rated up to 6 horsepower. So he maxed it out there. He's probably pushing 15, 20 miles an hour on a light load. But look at that. Super clean. Everything matches. Sometimes less is more, folks. Sometimes absolutely less is more. And I'm a huge fan of it. But as you can see in this one, he actually has a bow-mounted trolling motor, which is even better. This is like a miniature bass boat, as miniature as it gets. But stay tuned, because my very favorite tiny boat build is going to be at the very end, and it really is kind of a tiny bass boat. But I like that he included the gas outboard. Looks like he's went through multiple seats. But I'm a huge fan of this build, especially this table. This table is very inspiring. This is a great idea for those of you who are constantly loading it in and out of your bed. I've loaded my 12-foot in the bed of my truck once, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. So that's a pretty awesome solution. All right, we have 2 more boats. This one, which I think is the best tiny boat ever made on the market, or at least this style, not particularly this model, but the last one up next is actually my favorite for this week. Best for last, baby. Anyway, David posted this, and he's got the Dolphin Pro 120, the tiny boat that everybody wants, the tiny boat that I want, the tiny boat that's rumored to hopefully make a comeback soon. I know someone was talking to Dolphin about it, and they might be releasing one soon. I don't know. Not getting my hopes up, but listen, this is literally a tiny bass boat. You got the raised seat up there with the bow-mounted foot control trolling motor, which probably has spot lock. Not totally sure what kind of bow-mounted foot control Minn Kota this is, but if you had spot lock on this tiny boat, that is absolutely epic. Now, I'm not so sure of the size of the outboard, and I don't think it says, and yeah, this is a really low-res photo, so I couldn't get a good look at it, but if I had to guess, it is probably somewhere in the 6 horsepower range, which is absolutely plenty. So you've got the bow-mounted foot control trolling motor, work that shoreline. You've got some pretty good speeds probably. I would imagine that this boat goes anywhere from 10 to 15 miles an hour. And you've got it on a really nice Genesis trailer. But let's go back and talk about some of the features. So it's kind of hard to see right now. Let me see if I can zoom in with my hands real quick. Okay. I could be wrong, but I think this is the Garmin Striker 4. I have this exact same fish finder. I have 3 of them. This is the one that I have on my tiny boats. My kayaks have live scope and side and down imaging for the charter, but on my personal boats, I guess they're all my personal boats, but on my non-charter tiny boats, the John boat and the Palm Prowler, this is what I have. And what it has on there, I believe, is some sort of hood to block the sun out of it, which is a kind of a big deal when I'm standing up looking down at my fish finder fishing the flats. But he also has a quick release anchor system, which is super cool. But look at all this decking. Look at all that storage under there. He's got big old tackle boxes. And he also, I think the cleats come with the boat, but check this out. I do not think the nav lights come with the boat. So I'm pretty sure he installed that nav light himself, that as well back there. And overall, this looks like a very user-friendly, very functional boat. I mean, with the quick release anchor, the foot controlled trolling motor, the outboard. I mean, what can you not do in this boat? Now, I've never actually tried these boats before, so I'm not totally sure how they compare in stability. So if you're watching this video, I'd be very curious because it looks like it is a tri-hull design. It doesn't look like a flat bottom John boat, and it doesn't look like it's a pontoon boat. It looks like a tri-hull, kind of like the water tender. And, my water tender was not very stable, but neither is my John boat. So I'd be curious how the stability looks. But, I mean, look at that. That looks like a miniature bass boat. That is so cool. Anyway, I think these are some of the best tiny boats ever made that is no longer in production, which sucks. They even make a bunch like this with live wells, integrated storage, trolling motor battery compartments. There's so many. The coolest tiny boats are not made anymore. I made this channel too freaking late, folks. Anyway, let's go for the best for last. And that's going to be by a fella named Louis Sanchez. Now, I made him the cover photo of the group because look at it. Simple. Beyond simple. This is a 10-foot aluminum boat, and I made it the cover for a reason. Functional, looks great, and you can put it on the top of your car, and I believe this guy puts it in the bed of his truck. So it fits in the bed of most trucks. I mean, this is a small boat. My Palm Prowler is 10 foot. This looks like the gunnel, the beams are a little bit wider, at least on the stern. And overall, I am a huge fan. First of all, I believe this is a Tracker 10 foot. You've got a pretty cool sticker. I just think the sticker looks really cool. But there's not a whole lot going on. And that's what I like about it. Small, portable, anybody can use it. You've even got the wheels right there. I mean, there's nowhere you can't go. I mean, this is only a little bit less mobile than a freaking kayak, which I think is super cool. Again, you've got the foot-controlled trolling motor, which is funny because you also have a stern-mounted trolling motor, assuming that this one is nicer and faster. Otherwise, you would use this one full-time. But hey, I don't know. You do you, dude. But I think that's pretty cool. You don't even have any seats. You just have some decking, really clean decking, I might add, and what looks like a Garmin 73, maybe a 106. I can't exactly tell. But listen, he doesn't even have rod holders, folks. He has not a whole lot. But there's not a whole lot you can put on a 10-foot. This reminds me, remember the 16-foot we saw earlier? This reminds me of a shrunken down, like you made a wish to be shrunken down. That's what this reminds me of. And I am just a huge fan of it. You've got storage hatch, nice marine carpet with decking. And that's it, folks. No rod holders. They're strapped in. You've got a trolling motor here, a trolling motor there, and a fish finder there. That's it. That's simple. But the reason it's my favorite and the reason it's best for last is because of its mobility. The fact that you can throw it in the bed of any truck. The fact that you can throw it on the roof of a car. The fact that you can use wheels, which I'm not exactly sure how we're fixed to it. I haven't figured that out yet. But this view right here, I mean, look at that. This is all anybody needs to go catch fish. I would absolutely love this tiny boat build. I mean, this is all you need. I'm not even joking. Oh man, that's such a beautiful picture. Anyway, guys, join Tiny Boat Talk, submit your boat, or just post, get involved in the community. I'm going to start leveraging our community a lot more, simply because you guys have a lot of really good questions and a lot of really good answers. So I'm going to be able to make a lot more content answering a lot of the most commonly asked tiny boat questions. And if you want to be a part of the community, definitely hang out. This is going to be a weekly series here on the channel. This has been Tiny Boat Talk of the Week. See you next time.